right, in order to start, I, Noel Strife, and Kitty Cat has, had my first D&D session, but it was technically not D&D. Or is it? I have no clue. It is Cyberpunk Red. So it is, I guess, akin to Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe it is Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not sure. This was my first ever experience. Also, the GM, not to be confused with DM. DM is Dungeon Master. I'm gonna be saying GM because this is Cyberpunk. So in Cyberpunk they use Game Masters, not Dungeon Masters. So my GM is a first-time GM as well, and he's just really wanted to do this for quite a while as a big fan of Cyberpunk. So, he's written campaign. I think might be the proper word. He's written a campaign for me and 4 other people to play. Me and 4 other people to play. Let me get their names. I'm not going to be calling their names. I'm not going to be calling their actual government names. I'm going to tell you their character names, right? So it's me. I'm Red. Then we have a lady named Wraith, and then we have another guy named Owl, like the bird. And we also have another guy named Ren, So we all met up yesterday. And I'm gonna turn this down because it's too flippin' loud. I think that's perfect, right? And I have this map put up because we all basically started in Watson. Only it's based on the mission area, right? My character is a nomad. So I come with a vehicle. Other characters that aren't nomads have to eventually buy a vehicle if they want some transportation, or call to get somebody to pick them up or something like that. My character is a nomad. Ren's character is a nomad as well. So we have technically 2 drivers, and we have Owl is, I believe, a fixer. I believe Owl is a fixer. Chinese guy, fixer. And we have a rocker. A rocker boy is the class name, but it's a girl. So rocker girl for Wraith. So, which is like more of a, I guess, a charismatic class or whatever. She's, I believe, a former social media star for something. I'm not exactly certain what at the moment, but yeah, those are our 4 characters essentially, or 4 classes. After we stopped speaking about the classes, after we picked the characters and everything yesterday, you know what? I don't like talking over singing. And can I just turn this up barely? There we go. Man, that feels like it's not too oppressive. My bad. Had some volume issues. All right. Now, yes. So those are our 4 characters, and then our GM lays out starting with the fixer. The fixer got a call from someone to give a gig, and maybe they're not a fixer. I should probably quit saying that, but yeah, I can't. That kind of sucks. I don't know the class, but Owl received a call for a job, and basically after some banter, which this was really cool, that our GM was imitating the people that our characters had to communicate with. So he was getting quite spicy with his actual wife, which is actually pretty funny. Verbally spicy with his wife, while emulating another character, with profanity and all kinds of colorful language and expression. So that was pretty funny. um, that was pretty funny. But yeah, basically, they ended up accepting a job to burn a warehouse down. There was just a warehouse that they need to be burned. We didn't really get too much data. And they wanted 4 strangers, or they wanted a team of strangers. So that's where we ended up, linking up ultimately in order to do the job together. So we all agreed to. So after that, I believe Wraith was in their apartment, and we'd all agreed to meet up at the Afterlife. Afterlife is where a lot of people. It's a safe place to meet up to get gigs and jobs and stuff, And so we traveled to Afterlife. On the way there, the rocker girl Wraith ended up running into what was a super fan that was stalking apparently, like from a paid job. Like it was a net runner that was stalking the rocker girl. And thankfully, the net runner was a fan of the rocker girl and didn't know who they were getting paid to spy on. So, and through a couple of rolls, 1d10, ooh, got a 9. You know what it is. Through positive rolls, she ended up not getting, I guess, in a negative interaction. With this fangirl. Another funny thing about the GM is this guy is a manly man trying to imitate a fangirl to my lady, because Wraith is my lady's character. Was quite funny. That had almost all of us kind of cracking up, trying not to break character. Was pretty funny, but yeah. And then I believe Ren ended up going. Ren has a bike and a car because you can opt to. With our class, Ren has a Nomad. I have a Nomad. With our class, you can either begin with 2 vehicles, or you can upgrade a vehicle. And I chose one vehicle. I love sedans. I chose a sedan that I could upgrade, with bulletproof glass and a mounted machine gun on the front of the thing. Mounted machine gun on the front of the thing. And I got something else too. I think it was a Neuralink, which basically means I don't need to have my hands on the car to drive. That will be important data in a little bit. Now, let's change the music. Let's go instrumental songs, please. Like Supreme is instrumental, bro. If you don't quit fucking with me. Oh, interesting. Oh, I'm letting that rock. I didn't know that was a thing. That's fantastic. But anyway, now back to where we were. Ren, there was some people sitting on his bike or leaning on his bike communicating. And I thought Ren was going to get into like a fight or altercation. I was like, oh, this is the first time we really got action. It was 2, I believe it was 3 guys just hanging out around his bike. Since he can't park his bike at the hotel that he lives at, he has to park it across the street in basically a diner. I believe it's a empty diner parking lot. So yeah, I was like, okay. I was excited, but like, he ended up doing he did something to where if he rolled and beat the GM, then the guys would like get intimidated and just walk away. And I was like, damn. I really wanted to see, you know, how the combat works, because like it's turn-based, and is turn-based technically, and is based on die. You know, a lot of the damage numbers and stuff are based on die plus your stats. We all of our characters have our own unique stats, and yeah, and it did not end up happening. So that was him, Ren, on the way to his vehicle to go to Afterlife, and you know, no stress there. Me, on the other hand, as I hopped in my vehicle, my compact car. It might be a Quadra, I don't know what it is exactly to begin with, but I ended up heading on my way there. And as I was on my way to Afterlife, there was two cars that zoomed, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the right, I could tell was a Nomad vehicle, because Nomads, you know, they usually drive around the same kind of vehicles, you know. And the one on the left was based on like the design of the car, and the people that were out shooting guns at the, you know, at the other Nomad car were scavs. My character hates scavs. Absolutely hates scavs. The scav gang. You know, I might try and completely eliminate them if possible. You know, scavs suck. And so what ends up happening is I try to speed up. To catch them, and they both end up slowing down. The scavs on my left with guns shooting at the other Nomad, which is on my right at this point. And at this point, I'm like, oh shit, all right, let me brake to get behind the scavs. And I rolled, got a 1. First roll, got a 1. Can you feel it? Can you touch it? You touch the 1? No, you don't want to feel or touch the 1. No, it's not a good feeling. So I ended up not being able to get behind them, so I could, like, you know, use my mounted machine gun to shoot, you know, to shoot through the vehicle, or, you know, blow up the tires or damage the car or some shit like that. Couldn't do that, you know, because I lost the roll. And so what ends up happening is I ended up the enemy scavs end up next to me, and the Nomad car goes in front of the scavs. So we have them trapped, but the scavs are actively shooting at me. They roll, but I have bulletproof glass, so the roll, like, it didn't really matter. I don't think it necessarily mattered, because I have bulletproof glass. Maybe if I rolled really low, maybe they would have punctured the glass or something like that. So after that, now here is the setting. The vehicle is vehicle's a car where there's a driver. There's a driver driving. There is a guy in the passenger side shooting with a handgun out the window, and then there's a guy in the driver rear over the top of the roof shooting with an assault rifle. So it's my turn now. So I already have dual pistols. I have dual pistols, and so I opt to shoot the guy with my right hand. I have to shoot the guy in the passenger window, you know, right across from me, with my right hand, and shoot the other guy that is on the driver rear over the roof. Or shoot him. So the funny thing about this is, for the guy that was in the passenger seat, I rolled and I got a 1. So like, I was like, fuck, I got a 1. And basically what that meant was I missed. So it was described as I shot and the bullets like ricocheted off like the top of the car, and I just completely missed him. But the left guy, I rolled and I hit him. And then after you hit something, you have to roll for damage and calculate your stats with that as well. And I rolled, this is the best roll of the day, 6, 6, and a 5. 6, 6, and a 5. So what ends up happening, because I roll a 6, 6, and a 5, and I hit him, I basically blew the guy's head off. I basically completely blew the guy's head off, and he's just like, no more, you know. He's no more. And I was like, whoa. I was like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I like that. Meanwhile, the other guy, the other Nomad, ends up brake checking, and it basically ends up stopping the vehicle ended up stopping the vehicle. The guy in the passenger seat still has a gun, but he's trapped in his seatbelt. So he's trapped in his seatbelt because the car is damaged. Right. So after that, I end up doing a turn. I turn right to get my machine gun faced directly towards, towards the angle of the guy in the passenger seat, and I start shooting at. I tear him to shreds, but the driver's side guy is alive, right? So the driver's side guy ends up getting out and taking cover, while the nomad guy that ended up helping me, nomad person, I don't know, I think it was a guy. A person ends up doing the same thing, so they're having like a long range kind of shootout thing, and but I guess the guy didn't necessarily have a gun, so he ends up running towards the nomad guy, right? And they end up fighting for a bit, and so my turn comes back around again. I run over there, and I'm just like, all right, I don't need to. They're in like a bit of a jujitsu wrestling match or some shit, so shooting somebody under that situation is a little rough. So like, I just go over there and like I'm gonna go over there and punch him, like, and strike him, whatever. I roll well. I roll well and beat him or whatever, and I roll, I think I rolled like not a 12, like maybe a 10 or something. I roll a 10, which means I punched him directly in the skull or whatever. Knocked out. I loot the place, head my ass to Afterlife. So that it sounds like I'm giving you a real story because that's what happened. So we go to Afterlife, and this person, Zigzag. This person gives us a little bit of deets. They give us a bunch of Militech weapons and armor so that we can go. All they want us to do is blow up this warehouse and make it look like a terrorist attack. So like leave it on fire and leave a few things that were marked Militech. Leave a few things that were marked Militech, and then I think that was it. Leave a few things that are Militech and blow the place up. So yeah, we ask a bunch of questions, but don't really get anywhere. He did not seem like he had a lot of data. He did not give us a lot of data. I don't know if there was a way that we could have, if there was some skill or perception or some sort of check that we could have used to be able to get more data from the person that was giving us the gig. So, but that didn't end up happening, right? So what we end up doing is we formulate a plan, and the plan is for me and Rin to do the sneaking and the combat, while Owl assists with Owl assists and while Owl assists with planting C4 and helping us blow up this warehouse. And Wraith, actually, because this place usually it has 4 security guards, and they go on break at I believe 1:00. So they go on break at 1:00. So Wraith, it was going to distract them because they go to a neo-Nazi bar, to drink, just for a little bit, for like 30 minutes, like on their break, and then go back. So Wraith actually was gonna go at that bar and distract them, so they would be late to coming back. There's just, late, having a shot for shot contest, stuff like that, fun stuff on the clock, 1 p.m. in the daytime, toward noon and, noon daytime type stuff. So, yeah. So that ends up being our plan. We end up going to sleep, and then we end up heading there. I drop off, I pick up everybody. My car is a sedan. Ren only has his bike. So we all strap up with Militech gear, except for Wraith, obviously. Wraith has some fame, so like that fame is a good way to be able to distract people and be able to socialize and get people to be overly comfortable and distracted. So we used that, and it was very effective. So we go to this place, and Rin ends up sneaking up on this guy. There's a guy in a security booth. I don't know if we'll be able to see the security booth, because I can't exactly identify where this place is. This is it, I believe, but like, and this is it, I believe. I think it might be here. Might be this booth. And so he ends up sneaking up on this guy and hitting him with the butt of his gun, right? Hit him with the butt of his gun, but he rode low. And also, when we were at Afterlife before, I got, because I know that a Johnny Silverhands is just tequila, you know, it's just a shot of tequila. That's not too terrible. He got a he got a Pondsmith, you know, he got a Pondsmith, and Pondsmith is like fictional alcohol. It's like just a strong ass drink. So it actually, he had the roll for after he drunk that, and he actually got his stats reduced in half. So I'm like, fuck, bro. Like his dex, I believe his dex and something else, dex and evasion was cut in half. So instead of it being 6, it was 3. So that made things like kind of funny and like difficult for him. But he ended up fighting this guy in this security booth, right? He ended up fighting this guy in the security booth. He hits him with the butt of his gun, and it does like 10 damage. This guy has 40 health. Oh, whatever. 40, I believe, is maybe the standard amount of health. Maybe we should have shot him, you know, maybe we should have, like, you know, just kept it clean, no resistance, you know, but like we didn't want to draw the cops, you know, not too early, because we had to get in there, you know, and he had to get in there and then set everything ablaze and also get out and also leave some of the stuff that we had. So he fights this guy, right? And he butts him with a gun or whatever. And then this guy punches, Ren has armor on. So this guy punches Ren while Ren has armor, does no damage. Ren ends up knocking him back down and then kicking him. And the kicking, it ends up killing him or whatever, because he crit. He crit on that, right? And so he ends up dragging the body with us, and we end up getting inside this warehouse. And Ren gets the bright idea to, when we get there, there are 4 workers in there. My character yells, "If you want to live, get the fuck out!" And I place one of the C4 charges. We have 4 C4 charges. One of the C4 charges by the entrance of the door. You know, they just look and like they're scared, and then they run. Whatever. Like we didn't need to like kill them or add them as casualties or anything. As long as we were in and out, we wouldn't have to worry about them or the cops. Also, I'm a fantastic driver, so that will come up later. So Ren is still carrying the guy's body that he beat up. And Ren ends up seeing these crates, these like military grade crates, and so he hits the body on the crate to try and open the crate, and it doesn't break because he doesn't roll high enough, so he has to do it again. While he's doing that, Owl ends up spreading out the C4 charges or on the other corners of the building, whatever. And I am preparing the flamethrower. I got a flamethrower, Militech flamethrower, mind you. And so he ends up smashing, Ren ends up smashing the crate open, and he sees the word Arasaka. Now our map did not look like this, so we did not know that this was an Arasaka warehouse. If we had used this map, that probably would have spoiled some shit, but thankfully our map did not show us this. But yeah, so we ended up seeing that they were Arasaka shit, and then we realized that the gig was basically to start like a bit of a war between Militech and Arasaka. So we're like, all right, hurry it up. So the guy's body ends up basically like somewhat dismantling itself from him hitting the body on the military grade crates of stuff. You know, it was office supplies for Arasaka. It wasn't even nothing too crazy, right? So Owl ends up finishing the charges. I end up, and then they end up dropping like weapons and stuff that they took from the bag that was Militech, and I end up blazing the place, the flamethrower. The warehouse is pretty big, as you can see, right? I end up blazing the place with the flamethrower. I pull out the flamethrower because, you know, at that time I was burning motherfuckers up, you know. But anyway, if you know, you know. And so I end up blazing the place, right? And so the crates and stuff were catching on fire and all of that. And then we dip out. We have to go get Melody. We have to go get Wraith, right? Because remember, Wraith is at the bar distracting these guys. Unfortunately, when the workers left, the cops ended up getting called, right? So we start hearing sirens as we exit the warehouse. After we exit the warehouse, we are making it to the vehicle, to my vehicle, and my vehicle is around here somewhere. Damn, I wish I could pinpoint exactly where it was. My vehicle is around here somewhere. Yeah, because you can go under here this way, right? Yep. And so my vehicle is around here. So we end up what, making it to the car, and I hit the charge for the C4. The building goes flames, brimstone and fire everywhere. We hopping out with us. I drop my Militech helmet so I can like leave there. Or no, I think I dropped a Militech gun. It was like a light handgun. I use heavy handguns. I'm not using the light shit. So I dropped that, and then they dropped their various stuff that is, so it makes it look like Militech blew the Arasaka place up, right? Obviously. So yeah, we make it to the car. We hear the sirens. The sirens are getting closer. So I have to roll with my driving skill. Thankfully, I'm a nomad, and I rolled fantastically. So what ends up happening is I basically shoot out of this. The cops are coming down the highway. The cops are coming down the highway and around here. Because I rode so well, I zip through here before the cops can really see what's going on at this intersection. So by the time they're at this intersection, I'm all the way at this intersection, right over here. So I'm all the way at this intersection. So I end up turning left. Because the bar that Wraith is at is up here. So I was like, I'm thinking we can go get him. But if we don't, so I rolled and I didn't quite get good enough to fully escape. So I turned left and I was like right here as they were around here. And what ends up happening is that I roll well enough again for us to basically be out of, be out of their reach, to be out of their reach or out of their zone of understanding where I am. So meanwhile, Wraith is going shot for shot with these security guards at this neo-Nazi bar or whatever. So obviously some bad shit's about to happen. Wraith is the only white character. So the neo-Nazi bar works well for Wraith. And Wraith had to roll for like how drunk they were, because the mission, the gig took us about 30 minutes. So they're there talking and drinking. So about 4 or 5 shots in, they're drinking and talking and stuff. And Wraith rolls and gets a low roll. So they're like plastered, like basically like near stumbling and like, somewhat near blackout. Right. And so Owl calls Wraith to end up letting them know that we're on our way, get ready to leave. Okay. And after they get off the phone, or I'm on the way there. We're close, right? We're just literally down the street. We're right here. And I'm basically going right here. And what ends up happening is Wraith is grabbed, as they're trying to leave. And so Wraith ends up saying that she wants to kick the guy in the nuts or whatever. And like, she's trying to figure out if kicking the guy in the nuts will end up getting him to let go, because like you can get, realistically, I think you can get kicked below the belt and like still hold on to somebody if you're holding on to them. So like, I guess that makes sense. Wraith may have had to roll 2 different things to break the grab. But when Wraith rolled for the aimed, it's called an aimed strike, so a kick to the nuts, she ended up critting. So she ended up breaking this guy's pelvis with a kick to the groin or whatever. Which was completely hilarious or whatever. Meanwhile, we have pulled up and we're outside, but it's a neo-Nazi bar and I am a black character. I believe Rin is a black character and Owl is a Chinese guy. So so none of us should be going into the neo-Nazi bar, right? But we are still loaded, we're still loaded, with the some of the military gear that we have. So I've got a rocket launcher, an assault rifle, a sniper rifle. All of this shit I didn't use. All I used was the flamethrower. All I used the flamethrower, right? So like I was like, if you don't break free from this, we're gonna have to hop out the whip and pull out the guns. But the kick to the groin and she kicked to the groin and sprinted away, and Wraith got away. And I dropped off everybody. End of the night. Yeah. Twas fantastic. Was a fantastic time. Super dope. I look forward to doing this like a couple times a week. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily hooked or anything like that, but I could definitely see why people do stuff like this now. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like the Dungeons and Dragons format for it, because I like Cyberpunk more than I like the classic Dungeon Dragon, mage, wizard, sorcery, knight, what is that called? Paladin. Like, I like Cyberpunk's realm more than I like that. So like, yeah, so I don't know. Maybe in the future I'll actually try an actual D&D joint. But yeah, that was fantastic. The GM did fantastic. GM was nervous about people having fun and enjoying themselves. It took about 4.5 hours for that, but a lot of that, a lot of that was the talking, it was banter. It was us talking and bantering. We interrogated the guy that gave us the gig way too much, and our planning phase took quite a long time as well. So we'll get better and faster at it so we can progress. And apparently the GM had 2.5 pages filled, and we only filled the entire first page, I believe, that they had already campaigned for. So that's fantastic. But I look forward to seeing how far we can progress, and how far we can progress and what exactly like happens from that. So with us doing it every 2 weeks, that probably gives him ample time to do that, and maybe, I don't know if we can do it weekly. Weekly sounds a bit much, but bi-weekly sounds very feasible. So, but yeah, it was a good time, super good time. And with that's my first ever experience with D&D, but I'm gonna call it CR because it's Cyberpunk Red, baby. Yeah. Oh, I need to get a picture of me imagine me in the driver's seat of a car. My car knows how to drive itself, auto drive, right? I know. And my right hand, I miss somebody in the passenger seat. My left hand is aiming above and to the left while I'm moving or whatever. Imagine me, pow, and shot his head off. Oh my goodness. That's the highlight. That's kind of the highlight for me. It was a good time. Though. It was a good time. And so, yeah.